Tonight, we're going to talk about the pathway to poverty, because if you look at what wisdom has to say about poverty and do the absolute opposite of that, then it's going to lead you into a favorable situation. And I know we've been talking about, we talk about a gamut of different topics. Darren the Inspirer was just on here talking about health and wellness just a few weeks ago. All right, I've had other individuals. We have DJ Oel that was on here, talking about being a kingdom strategist. I talk about wisdom from different aspects. So we want to go into some other different, forms of wisdom. I know we've been talking about finances and business as well, but so I'm talking about poverty right now, and then we're going to go into some relationship wisdom, and we're going to go into some other forms of this wisdom, so that I don't want individuals to think that we're just strictly talking about business and finances. It's a lot more that goes under the umbrella of wisdom. But today, I'm going to be talking about the pathway to poverty. And if you pay attention to these scriptures, you can avoid yourself many heartaches. So if you have your scriptures with you, right now, I want you to turn to Ecclesiasticus, the book better known as the Book of Sirach. Ecclesiasticus chapter 26, verse 28. I'm not going to hold you all too long today, but I just want to get this into your brain. All right, this is very important for those of you that really care about your pathway to wisdom and wealth. So Ecclesiasticus chapter 26 and verse 28. There be two things that grieve my heart, and the third maketh me angry. A man of war that suffereth poverty, and men of understanding that are not set by, and one that returneth from righteousness to sin. Yah prepareth such a one for a sword. So I want to focus on this first one right here, where it says that there be two things that grieve my heart. And the first thing it talks about is a man of war that suffereth poverty. Now I know it's big, basically strictly talking about a man of war, but I do not like to see any one of my brothers and sisters in poverty. All right, and so that's why I have taken it upon myself. One of my goals is to help tens of thousands of my brothers and sisters to be able to become debt free and to be able to pay off different things that they have attached to their name. One of the reasons why that drive is so hard on me is because I know how it feels to be in debt. I know how it feels when looking at your money and you feel like I owe all these, what they say out in the world, Peter, Paul, and whoever else. You owe all these different individuals the money even before it's accounted for. And so I want to be able to help individuals with the strategies that I've been able to come across, and through the biblical methods, through the practical methods, to be able to help them to become debt free, and so that they can be able to fight the war on poverty. All right, so turn with me again. Give me a second. I have to get to Ecclesiasticus chapter 40. Ecclesiasticus chapter 40 and verse 28. All right. That is my favorite wisdom book of all, is to tapping into the book of Ecclesiasticus. So this is right here. This is key. And I hope this is not for any one of us. But Ecclesiasticus chapter 40 and verse 28, it says, now I want to get 29 and 32. So give me 1 second. Give me 1 second here. All right, I'm at my office, and I had to make a move. I had some people outside. All right, so I'm not moving as fast as I would like to. Give me 1 second here. Appreciate your patience. Appreciate your patience. I'm trying to get here. All right, so I'm just going to read from Ecclesiastes 40 and verse 28. It said, my son, lead not a beggar's life, for better it is to die than to beg. And so this is what I want to make sure my brothers and sisters are not out here doing, is begging. And begging comes as a result of being impoverished. It's not a good feeling. And when you go and you read when you read the end of Ecclesiasticus chapter 40, you will end up seeing that it talks about a person living from a cottage to a different person's cottage. And it said this, when my brother-in-law comes into town, or my family comes to town, they have need of the room. All right, it's not good for us to be living a beggar's life, and we will live a beggar's life if we are operating in the poverty mindset. So let's go to Proverbs chapter 21. We're going to talk about some things that leads to poverty. Very important things that we need to avoid. All right, I did my Ecclesiastica scriptures. We're going to be parking it right here in Proverbs for a little minute. Proverbs chapter 21. And we're going to go to verse number 5. It says, the thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but everyone that is hasty only to lack. So we talked about this, I believe, maybe a whole month ago. For those of you that was on that Zoom meeting right there about the plans of the diligent. So it said the plans of the diligent, it tends only to plenty, but everyone that is hasty, it leads to lack, it leads to poverty. So another thing, I'm gonna say this one more time, all right, because I'm gonna move on from this topic, but make sure that you are planning. Make sure that you are in the proper preparation, because proper preparation, it leads to productivity. And those that are hasty, those that are doing things on the fly, those are doing things as soon as it comes to their mind, doing things that they may not have thought all the way out, is going to eventually lead that person down a rabbit hole. It's going to lead them to a rabbit hole of poverty and frustration. So hastiness leads to poverty. If you want to write that down on a sheet of paper, because this is what the wisdom is telling us. Hastiness leads to poverty. And I don't know about you. I've been, in my past, I was a very hasty individual. And getting involved with this wisdom has had me to it's put that spotted mirror up to my face to be able to say, okay, listen, you're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to think this thing all the way too, because when you're making fast money, you feel like I could just spend it on whatever. It's going to keep coming back to me. And individuals, they wake up one day and they find out that the well has dried up and they have to move on and do something else. All right. So Proverbs 28 and 22. Proverbs 28 and 22. We're talking about hastiness. And at the end of this, I want to hear your feedback as well. If you have any other additional nuggets that you want to add to the discussion. So Proverbs chapter 28 and verse 20, it said, he that hasteth to be rich has an evil eye, and consider not that poverty shall come upon him. So it said, he that hasteneth to be rich has an evil eye. And so when we look at what wisdom's prescribed method of obtaining wealth, is slow and gradually. It's not you trying to make it in haste. It's not in you trying to get rich quick overnight. This stuff comes in brick by brick. An individual is laying their foundation brick by brick. But because of social media, all right, we see all these individuals that are telling you their success story and join my course, and in 90 days, I can get you $500,000 in 90 days. All right, we've been sold a bill of goods. And so we went away from what the scriptures are telling us. Now, even before some of us have come into the knowledge of social media, some individuals like myself, I used to shoot dice. I used to gamble. I used to play cards. I used to sell drugs. All of those were methods of fast money. All right, but they say the riches that come fast, they end up leaving the same way. And so with that mindset, make sure that you don't adapt into that mindset that you're trying to get a get rich quick thing that's going to happen into your life. Now, the Most High allow some things, some doors to open up to you, and wealth to flow to you in a rapid way. Then listen, I want to sit back here and I want to celebrate with you. But I'm telling you this, don't deceive yourself and think that that's just the way that it has to be. Be okay with the small wins. Be okay with the incremental things. This is something I had to, be able to accept in my health and wellness journey as well. I had to start giving myself incremental improvements. So even with me bench pressing, going into the weight room, I was putting on 225, and then it went up to 245, and I put it to 265, and now I would stay. And every time I would hit 10, I would level up and I would take it higher. And next thing you know, it got to 315, and so and I'm continuing to build up. But so don't despise the incremental improvements. This is what I want to tell you all, especially when it comes to your finances right now. So gambling, individuals are looking for fast money. Sometimes you gambling, it could be you putting money on a stock. It could be you putting money into crypto, and you do not know what you're putting your money into. That is the same as going to a casino and gambling. You don't know what you're doing. See, when you put your money into a stock, you are purchasing a percentage of that company. You are investing into a percentage of that company. And so it is in your best interest to know what you're putting your money into, to study the ticker symbol, to know what the company is about, to know about the goods, to be able to know the profit and loss statement, to know where that company is going at, what's the projected revenue within the next 5 to 10 years. But a lot of us, because we hear about a hot stock, all right, we get caught with the FOMO. And for those of you that do not know what FOMO is, FOMO, it's the fear of missing out. All right, or the feeling of missing out. And so, me personally, someone told me about a stock years ago, and he told me this thing is about to blow. I'm telling you, man, listen to me when I'm telling you. He was on Reddit. He was studying this stock. He was really into it. So because I suffer with the FOMO, I put some money into this stock. And the stock did go up, and my money actually went up quite a bit. And I didn't put as much as I should have put in there. I should have put a lot more in there, and I really saw an increase. But what happened to this man was his money. He took his money, and it went from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, all within a matter of days. And because of greed, he let the money sit in there, and then days later, that money went all the way down, and that stock plummeted. So you got to watch out for greed as well, and you got to make sure that you are not making these decisions that can be looked at as gambling. Cryptocurrencies, a lot of individuals in 2020, 2021, that's when I got involved with cryptocurrencies, 2020, all right? And, I'm going to be honest with you. I was putting my money on Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP. I got a nice amount of XRP. So if XRP do what they projected to do, which it has already went up, and it went back down and went back up. But if XRP do what they say it's going to do, it's going to really help a nice amount of people out financially. But I was gambling on these things, putting my money up, buying these things, and really not know what I was doing. All right, I held on, so we got a nice amount of them still in my portfolio. But at the time, I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm gonna be honest with you all, and I was taking a gamble. And life is about gambling. And a lot of times we gambling in life every single day. Stocks, cryptos, robberies. Some people, they hasten to be rich by committing robberies. And so they don't want to work for their wealth. They don't want to work for their income and do what wisdom prescribes them to do. So they guess what they want to do? They want to walk up to you and they want to put that thing to you on your head and they want to take what you had. All right. And that's not, and so they have what's coming to them because what goes around, it comes around. And what happens to the robber, they end up getting robbed or getting shot and killed. All right. So don't be looking for the fast riches. Wisdom is telling us to build brick by brick and not to be hasty, because hastiness leads to poverty. The next one on the list, let's go to Proverbs chapter 20, verse 13. Proverbs chapter 20 and verse number 13. Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thy eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. It says, love not sleep. We have to make sure that we're not loving sleep. Listen, I like sleep, especially a person like myself. I only get probably about 5-6 hours of sleep every night. I know that's not good. I'm telling on myself. I try to aim for 8. And for some reason, I always find something else that I can be doing with Wisdom and Wealth, with my ministry page, calling individuals, staying on the phone longer than what I need, pouring into individuals. And somehow that 8 hours, it turned into 6 hours and 30 minutes or 6 hours and 15 minutes or things of that nature. So we have to be intentional with our phone conversations with individuals, because some individuals that we are communicating with, we're having costly conversations with individuals. If you're on the phone with the individual and they're not talking about nothing, that is an expensive conversation here. And I had a couple of them today, individuals that were calling me during working hours. I was out making transactions, generating cash flow, and I was on the phone with these individuals for 52 minutes. And during that time of 52 minutes, I did not bring in any income while I was dealing with this individual. And so you have to be intentional and deliberate when you're talking to these individuals, because if they're not going anywhere and they feel like they could just shoot the breeze with you, all right, and if you don't shut that down, you have cut into time where you could be making phone calls with individuals. You could be setting up appointments. You could be dealing with customers that's walking past your establishment. If you have a establishment and you're in a public forum, all right, and I'm in a public forum and I was just letting people walk past me because I was on the phone with multiple individuals today, so an hour and a half of my time. It's gone. I can't get it back. So that's how my 8 hours, sometimes it goes down to 6. It's not the best thing for your health. All right. But the scripture says in Proverbs chapter 20, verse 13, love not sleep, lest you come to poverty. When you go down and you look at the field of the slothful and how it's all covered with thorns and hedges and the ground, and he said, a little sleep and a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that traveleth, and thy need as an armed man. So we have to make sure that we do not love sleep. All right, it's official, and we need it for our everyday life, but we don't fall in love with it. We got 1 day to rest, all right, and we have 6 days to do all our labor and do whatever we can with our hands. All right, so let's continue. So we talked about the first 2 things on the pathway to poverty. I'm looking at Sister Demetria right now. All right, she was just on the pathway to prosperity. All right, for those of you that haven't checked out that video, go pay it attention. I'm telling you, she was dropping some nuggets just like she did on the virtual. But this is the difference between the pathway to prosperity and this is called the pathway to poverty. And so if you follow these things, you're going to end up poor. And if you do the exact opposite of what I'm telling you, you're gonna have wisdom and wealth. So we talked about the first thing. We talked about hastiness leads to poverty. All right, number one, you don't want to be trying to make this money so fast to where you lose sight of what you're doing and you're gambling and you're not researching, you're not studying, you don't know what you're putting your money into, you don't know what you're investing in. You're just doing it because you have the FOMO, that disease called the FOMO, and the fear of missing out. All right. So hastiness leads to poverty, sleep, the love of sleep, it leads to poverty. The next one, all right, this goes along with, this is the opposite. Let's go to Proverbs 20. Proverbs 20 and verse number 4. It says, the sluggard would now plow by the reason of the cold. Therefore shall he beg in the harvest and have nothing. So the sluggard will not plow because it is cold outside. Listen, we got to get rid of this lazy mindset. We have to have the mindset that if it's rain, sleet, or snow, we are going to get out here and do whatever we need to do for our family. But the sluggard, the lazy person, because he loves to sleep so much, this is a person that's coming up with excuses to get out here and make it happen because it's cold outside. It's about to be cold here in another month or 2. Are you going to sit back when your children are depending on you, your spouse are depending on you, and you're going to say, well, it's cold outside, I can't do nothing? Or are you going to push through the cold? Are you going to push through the winters and do what you need to do, even if you're a person that got to go door to door? Now, I don't think no one on this live is going door to door sales, but what if you had to go door to door to make a certain amount of closes to feed your family? Would you be like the person in Proverbs chapter 20 that said, but the sluggard by the reason of the cold, he's going to make up an excuse? Another person in scripture said, there's a lion in the street. He said, it's a lion out there. I can't go out there because I'm scared because I might get eaten up by the lion. So Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 4. Now let's go to Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 4 and see what wisdom has to say about this. Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 4. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. All right. The person that becomes poor, they deal with a slack hand, a lazy hand. We got to make sure that we're not sluggards. What does it say in the book of Ecclesiasticus? The book of Sirach, it says, I believe it's chapter 13, if I'm not mistaken, or chapter 20, somewhere in there. It said a slothful man is compared to a piece of dung. Y'all know what dung is. I don't have to get too graphic, right? That's what that person is compared to. So we have to make sure that laziness is not associated with us. The reason why some of us are lazy is because we do not have a well-defined why. And I want to ask you all today, what is your reason why? What's the reason why you go to work every single day? And why can be broken down to what hurts you. What hurts you so bad that you're willing to go through insurmountable odds to make sure that you change your family tree, that you break generational curses? What hurts you? What hurts you? All right, keep that in mind. The person that becomes poor, they deal with a slack hand. They refuse to labor, and guess what? They refuse to invest too. We're going to talk about the investment part as well. All right, the investment part. And that and asset, I appreciate you, my sister, for that and asset. That was amazing. For those of you that have not read the book called The And Asset, go and read it. All right, I'm telling you this. All right, and she gonna be back on here the most I say the same, and prayerfully the next few weeks if her schedule frees up. It's gonna be talking to y'all about that cash value life insurance. That is an amazing investment. Some people are afraid. That's a profitable investment. Actually, the safest and best investment that you could possibly make is arguably the best investment. One of the best investments you could make is cash value life insurance because it has withstood all the wars that we have went through. When everything has tanked, when the economy is tanked, all these things have tanked. Guess what? Guess what has still been going up? Guess what's the vehicle that all these wealthy people have been hiding their money in? They had to make regulations because the wealthy people was getting so rich off of cash value life insurance. They was like, hey, we got to make some type of regulations for this. So we got to find a way, some loopholes to take some of that money from you all because you all are y'all just taking this thing to a whole nother level. And so that's the cheat code right there. That's one of them. All right. Now, Demetria, she's a specialist. She's going to talk about that here in the future. Proverbs 21:17. Let's go there for a second. We're talking about this. The pathway to poverty. All right. Remember, I told you, this is the wisdom and wealth. We don't promote folly and poverty. But if you learn from your folly and poverty, it can lead you to wisdom and wealth. Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 17. All right. It says, he that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man, and he that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. He that loves pleasure shall be a poor man or a poor woman. Man, Proverbs chapter 21:7, 17 and 7, 21:17, smack me in my face. Listen here, because I'm like, I've been to Canada this year. I've been to Jamaica. I'm like, listen, I'm about to go to another international trip. I've been to some trips around the States. I've been moving around this year, right? I've been moving around the last 10 years, all kind of places. People know me from traveling, right? But when I looked at Proverbs chapter 21 and 17, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, hold up. This trip to Jamaica, this thing might have hit me for about $7,000. And this trip to Canada, okay, I drove through Detroit, all right, now that was a cheaper trip. That was, let's say about $2,500, $3,000. That's $10,000 that I could have invested in something. And then I add another trip that might be $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000. Imagine what $15,000 to $17,000 invested could have done. So now I had to wisdom smacked me in the face. Ooh. Am I trying to be traveling internationally 3 to 4 to 5 times a year? Or do I need to just break that down to maybe one time? One big trip out of the country every year, maybe 2 big trips out of the country every year, and I do some local events, but I'm not putting $15,000 to $20,000 into travel expenses. Well, that could be going into my cash value life insurance policy. Well, that could be going into a well-invested, well-researched stock or crypto or whatever the type of different other assets where Mandy's going to be going to cash value life insurance. So what is the pleasure thing that you're holding on to right now? What is that thing that you keep spending your money on that when you look at your money at the end of the month, it comes by in incremental amounts? It might be fast food. All right, I'm another person. I stay on the highways. I'm traveling back and forth up in the different states, right? And so when I look at my food bill at the end of the month, $10 a day, $15 a day, it may not seem like a lot right now, but at the end of the month, all right, that's $400 to $500 times 12. That's $6,000 that you spent on fast food. I spend on fast food, not you. You all are patient. You all are more local, maybe. All right, maybe you can keep your costs down. Me, I gotta find a way to keep this. I'm about $5,000 a year just in fast food, and that's not including the groceries that I pay for my house. So where can I find some type of ways in my budget? Oh, by the way, it'd probably be good for you to put together a well-defined budget for yourself, because tracking your expenses, what do it say in Ecclesiastes chapter 42 and verse 7? You probably want to write this down, Ecclesiastes 42 and 7. He said, deliver all things in number and weight, and put all in writing what thou givest out and what thou takest in. It's very good to be able to track what's coming in, what's going out, so that you could be able to know where you stand at. All right, a lot of us, we got money just falling through the cracks. I've been guilty of that. Listen, one time I'm sitting down, we're doing our taxes. I had a 6-figure year. I'm feeling good. And next thing you know, though, I made 6 figures, but my expenses almost came to 6 figures. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, I done paid down some debt. I done did this, I done did that, but why don't I have maybe an extra $30,000 or 25,000 after I done made all this money because you just put all this money to this, and that. You wasn't tracking everything. So the next time it came around, I had to be, oh, I ain't about to let that happen again. Now I have to watch things. So let's go back to this now. Proverbs chapter 23 and 21. So what is that pleasure thing? Your pleasure thing might not be travel. I love to travel. Listen, I'm trying to go all through Africa. I want to go to Antigua, Aruba. I want to go to Dubai. There's so many different places. I want to go so many places in South America, Australia. Somebody got the 12 fundamental laws. They got my book over in Australia. I want to go over there and meet that person that bought my book in Australia, right? It's so many different places I want to see, but then I have to be wise. I have to be like, okay, when the Most High accelerates my income and my income maybe even go to 3, 4, 5x what it is right now, and it's already a decent spot right now. So if it goes 4 or 5x, then maybe I will think about 3 or 4 international trips per year, or 5 of them. But right now, it's like, okay, it's time to stick to the script. It's trying to manage this money. All right, I have home renovations. I have so many different things money could be going towards. And you have other things that you could be putting your money towards. Some of these events that's going on amongst our people. All right, I know you want to attend every single event, but it's probably not in your best interest to attend every single event that's going on right now, because that's deducted. I was talking to a brother, and he was going to these different events, and some of them are even feast days. Some of them are maybe just musical events. And I was telling this brother, I was like, hey, brother, all that money that you spending going on these different events, that need to be going towards boom, 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 boom. And the brother took heed. He took heed. Even though he had to refrain from some fellowship for a while. This is something that we don't like to participate in. We do not like to participate in delayed gratification. We want it now, including myself. That's why I told you Proverbs 21:17 smack me in the face, because I'm looking to go out of the country again within the next few weeks. But then I had to sit back and look at things. I say, oh, is that really the smartest thing for me to be doing right now?